So today we are just going to jump right into this video. I'm going to explain a little bit more in depth the difference in your video settings and why you would choose one over the other. We will be using the Z6 for this demonstration. So our last video about video, we talked about just basically jumping in and getting started with no real rhyme or reason as to why we do the things we do. I just wanted to get you guys like a crash course into starting and doing video. So today we are going to dive a little bit deeper. It's still basic video settings, but we're going to dive a little bit deeper and I'm going to explain why you would choose one setting over another and what settings I basically use when I am shooting, say, families or kids running around or weddings or something like that. And I will be showing you how to find your settings on your camera, because that was a big thing for me is, oh, okay, well, it does face detection. Well, how do I activate face detection? Or, you know, how do I change my frame size or frame rate? So that's a difficulty, I know, for a lot of people. So we're just gonna go through the menu. So first, before we do anything, there is a download link and you can get your free guide. It's a worksheet so you can work along with me as we go through the video. And this is going to help you. It's also got more information in there, more in-depth information so that you can choose what you want. But basically, if you download that, then you can work through the video with me and take notes on your worksheets, and it will make things a little bit easier to see it in the written down, I think. All right, guys. So to get to your frame size and rate, you can just click your eye to go into your eye menu pretty fast, and then you can click right there and choose what you want. But I want to go into the menu to explain it a little bit better. So I went to the camera, the video camera, and then I'm going to go to frame size, frame rate. Okay. So right now I'm in 1080p. And what that means is I have 1920 pixels by 1080 pixels. So the more you have, the higher the resolution is going to be. So up here you have 4K, 3840 by 2160. Okay, so that's what that means as far as resolution goes. In the Z6, you have the 1080 or you have the 4K. Now, so the camera will shoot 4K in these frame rates. Now let me explain frame rate. So if you were to pick 3840 times by 2160 4K at 24 frames per second, you would have 24 frames per second, and it's going to be the most cinematic footage. So the higher the number, the more frames per second you're going to have. 24 will give you the most cinematic look, and it looks more like film. So a lot of videographers stick with 24 because of that. But if you want to shoot slow motion, then you would need to go up to a higher frames per second. So you could go to 120, 100, 60. So I would start at 60 if you were gonna do slow motion. Now, I know that seems weird to have more frames per second to go into slow motion, but if you think about it, you need more frames per second to fill in the gaps, because basically you're slowing down the time. So the Z6 actually has built-in slow motion. 30 frames per second times 4, what's 4 times 3? It's gonna be 120 frames per second. 25 times 4, 24 times 5. So then that is going to be, when you multiply that, that's going to be your frames per second. Which brings us to your shutter speed. So your shutter speed needs to be twice your frames per second. So if you have a 24 frames per second, then you would want your shutter speed to be, well, I'm having trouble here, probably because I don't have a lens on it, but you'd want your shutter speed to be 50th of a second. But if we were in slow motion and we had 24 times 5, so 24 times 5 is 120 frames per second. So what we would want to do with our shutter speed is we would want to change it to 2/40th, which they don't have that on a camera. So you're gonna go 1/250th. Now, if you're actually like shooting newborns or something like that, it's gonna be okay if you forget to put that in and double that 1/250th. Basically, if your shutter is too fast, it can look jittery or shaky. And if your shutter is too slow, it can introduce motion blur into your footage. When I'm shooting newborns, I have never seen it introduce motion blur. When I actually, all I even do is just put it into, so usually I'm at 1/50th. I'm just gonna leave it at 1/60th right now. But usually when I actually go down and pick it, it automatically brings it up to this as the minimum shutter speed anyway. So, and I've always been able to get away with it. But as a general rule, you want to multiply your shutter speed by 2 and leave it at that. You don't need to change it. So now let's discuss our ISO. Okay, yeah, so your shutter speed dial is here. Your ISO button is on the top here, and you just hold it down, and then this number will change back and forth. Now, the higher your ISO, the more sensitive your camera is to light. So if you're in a low light situation, of course, you want to raise your ISO, and if you're in a really bright situation, you can lower your ISO. The best ISO that you can do is the lowest ISO that you can get away with. So when you double your shutter speed, if you're doing slow motion, then you might have to choose a really high ISO to get your camera to balance out and get the correct exposure, which we'll go to in a minute. Okay guys, so to change your aperture, there's a front dial here that you can turn back and forth. And as you can see, it's changing it right here. The higher the number, then the less light you're actually letting in your camera, and the more depth of field you will have. The lower the number, the more light you have, and also the less depth of field you have. So to get more of a blurry background, you want to have your f-stop or aperture at a lower number, and it will let in more light. And to get more in focus, then you're going to want to go to a higher number, but then you're going to have to raise your ISO up to get that. So when you're doing video, the thing to remember is that you're going to leave your shutter speed as it is. You're also going to pick your aperture and leave it as it is. The only thing you're going to want to change is you're going to want to push that ISO button and go up or down as you go along throughout your shoot. If you are working outside, and this is a little bit more advanced topic, you can get a neutral density filter. And the neutral density filter, you could get a variable one, and what it does is you just put it on the front of your lens and you just turn it, and it will get darker and lighter, which will allow you to go to lower apertures, well, wider apertures rather, so that you can get more like dreamier shot. And the other topic we will talk about is, which actually you can find in your I menu as well. Okay, so you want to leave your vibration reduction, you want to make sure that it is on, so leave that on. This, I leave your electronic vibration, I leave that off because it can make your footage look kind of weird. And then for your focus, I choose AFF, which is full-time autofocus. Now the reason I choose AFF full-time autofocus is because it works the best for me. AFS is autofocus single, AFC is autofocus continuous. So you choose AFF, and what this is going to do is it's going to allow you to go into your menu and go down to AF area mode, and you're gonna want to choose auto area AF. And what this is going to do is it's going to change your point. So let me get my son in here and I will show you what I mean. Okay, so what this is going to allow you to do is pick what you want and it's going to follow it. Go ahead and move around a little bit, sweetie. See? Okay, now come back in the frame. Come a little closer. Not that close, not that close. Yeah, back a little bit. Good job, thank you. Thank you.
But I don't want pictures now.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about focus zones. So we go into AF area mode. We've already got our focus mode at AF area mode, single point. You'll see there's a single point right there. Here's the point. You'll see the red dot. Apollo, go in front of the camera. It's fine. So your camera's going to continue to focus on that point. Go further back, sweetie. Okay. Okay, now scoot back. Okay, scoot back. Now walk away. See? So this whatever this red dot is pointed at is what's going to focus on. So that is going to be the same if we go, scoot this way just a little bit. See, it's going to be the same if we go into our menu and we go to AF area mode, wide area. This is a square. And wherever we put our square is going to be in focus. Go that way. Come forward. A little bit more. A little bit more. So as you see, it's staying in focus. Go this way just a little bit. So that would be great for like if you had a particular spot you were filming. So if you were doing like a wedding or something, that'd be perfect for that because the people would be in the center or wherever you put the square. And then this one is the same. It's a larger area. So it is, and it is a rectangle. Okay, good. All right, so as you can see, it's going to focus on that. And then if we go to auto area, okay, then you'll just choose your spot, okay? And it's going to follow that spot. Go back. It's going to continuously try to find that face. Go that way. No, look that way. That way. Come this way. You're doing a good job. Come this way. Smile. Well, you're not in the... There you go. Good job. So we're going to do AFC continuous, and we're going to put the mode... We're going to just leave it wide area. Now, it's only going to focus as long as I hold down either the shutter halfway down or I use back button focus. So as long as I'm holding it down, go backwards, it's going to continue to focus. But when I pull it off, it's not going to continue to focus. Come forward. It keeps following it, but it's not going to continue to focus. Now I'm holding the back button focus, or if you shoot with your shutter halfway down, like the button up front, then that's how you would continuously focus. If you want to set your white balance, you can do so here. And I personally, I keep it on auto a lot, but one thing you can do is choose your color temperature. And if you choose your color temperature, then it's not going to change throughout. So if you're outside and it's a nice sunny day, then you could choose Kelvin and you would choose right here. So if it's a nice sunny day outside, you might want to stay at 5,000 Kelvin, or 5500 Kelvin, because that's generally what daylight is. So you can also change, if you feel like your camera shoots a little bit magenta, you could change it up a teeny bit. I would not go crazy with this. In fact, I don't change that at all ever. So I just leave it alone. But yeah, so that's how you could change your white balance. So that's the video, guys. I hope it helped you out. I hope it was quick and informative. And so sharing is caring. Please share this video. And if you liked it, please like it. Also, subscribe to my channel. And I will see you guys next time.